Welcome to Mr. Sleeter's neighborhood. Come with me down the path of discovery while I talk with several industry leaders and innovators who are changing the state of the art in accounting technology. So at the Sleeter Group, we've been doing a survey for a few years now. We call it What SMBs Want. And you've seen it and been part of it, so thank you for that. But one of the big things we kind of discovered in the process is there seems to be what I call the service gap between what practitioners are providing, services that we're providing, and what the SMBs want. And this could be anything from, well, they want more detailed analysis of their gross margin by product, but their accountants never do this for them. Or they want strategic technology advice as opposed to just a tax return. Talk to me a little about your perspective on what you see clients really want that firms in general aren't providing.
I think it's really that concept of a business advisor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when we first started, when the profession first started, which, you know, is actually centuries ago,
Sure.
That's what we were doing, is we were helping advising, you know, perhaps at that time, the kings and queens on where should they be investing their money, or how did they account for what happened with the merchants, right? And taxes and everything. Mm-hmm. When you come back even to today's modern world, that's the same thing I think a lot of today's SMBs want, is this, as a business owner, how are you going to help me? Are you only going to help me with my taxes and finances? But my business has so much more that we're working with.
Right.
So I mentioned in another segment about the concept of this generalist or the general contractor.
Right.
That the business owner, I think, wants to be able to come and go, hey, help me with this problem. Doesn't matter what the problem is. And us as the accountant needs to go, well, you know, we can help look at that solution and figure out what the whole solution is.
Right.
And I think as accountants, we're one of the few that's actually poised to do that.
Right.
Because if you look now, we have to collaborate with the lawyers to figure out what kind of policies, what kind of terms and conditions, what other contracts, things. We need to perhaps collaborate with specialists, especially if you're doing an audit for conflict minerals or other types of, sustainability. There's all these things. So we work with all of these other people and help to go, okay, based upon what all these other specialists, non-accounting specialists have said, this is the business solution or the transaction that actually needs to occur.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what the SMBs need. And there's that gap between, well, sorry, I just do your taxes, or I just help get your financials together. And this is how I can really help you as a business grow.
I think of it as a process of just getting people to look up. Mm-hmm. The business owners looking down in the sense of running their business. So if they're an HVAC contractor, they're getting the next bid out there, and they're getting the job, and they're staffing it, and they're getting the project. They do projects, right?
Yeah.
But they're not thinking about strategically about where their business is going, what technology they ought to be using, and whether they're up to speed or not, or whether their hard disk is about to crash. Even somebody who helps them look up from their business and make sure that they're kind of checkups occasionally. Yeah. So
I think, and that helps them think through a lot of it.
Right.
And sometimes what I tell people when they say, what do you really do as a consultant or as an advisor?
Right.
It's how people think through problems.
Right.
They have, or think through what they want to do.
Right.
So a lot of times they think, I really want to do this, or I'm having this issue.
Yeah. Well,
let's talk through. Let's figure out what are some of the things that are holding you back. And maybe it's something that I can help you with. Maybe it's something I have to refer you to another specialist for.
Yeah.
But at least we can be at that up front and go, hey, okay, let's figure out what this problem is.
Because we enjoy this great trusted advisor position in our client's mind. So we really need to be true to that. We need to make that. So just let me morph this slightly and say, but what about the professionals out there? What about the firms out there? Are they just looking down, and do they need to look up too?
Is that a loaded question?
Yeah.
I think they're slowly starting to lift their head up. They're slowly starting to see. I would turn it around the other way and go, if you keep looking down and you're only focused on this little piece that you're doing, everything's just going to pass you by.
Yeah.
It's almost like the evolution of technology, right? If you only stuck with DOS or Windows and didn't adopt any of this cloud stuff, everything's going in that motion, and you're just going to go by.
Yeah. So let me talk about specialization. We touched on it a little bit before, but I guess I want to ask, how do I take my practice and specialize things without like firing all my clients and just having a few left? I mean, how do I get there?
Sure. So in my firm, we've actually taken sort of a mixed approach where what we're doing is we have a few clients where we work with sort of the whole spectrum of what we do.
Mm-hmm.
So we even have a few that we actually still do bookkeeping. And we do that so that we stay in touch with the actual software. We use different software for each of those clients.
Right.
And so we still do some, quote, traditional work.
Right.
There are other clients where we'll do, even for me as an IT specialist, some traditional IT work where we're helping to maintain the networks and do the servers.
Mm-hmm.
So that we can see that as I'm talking about strategy and all this other great stuff that's occurring, that, hey, if I try and implement it, what I'm telling other people to do, that it actually still works.
Yeah.
Or that we're finding out, hey, here's the limitation of that technology.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's about firing all the clients, but figuring out which clients are the ones to keep.
Right.
Which are the ones that you have that good trusted relationship with, so that you can delve deeper. You can try this new thing that just all of a sudden came up.
Yep.
And go, okay, let's try this out.
Right.
And that you can tell the client, hey, do you mind
Yeah.
kind of being that guinea pig for me?
Mm-hmm.
But because of that trust in that relationship, they know that you're not going to let them fail and go down into this rabbit hole that's going to lead nowhere.
This gets back to our question about the adoption of cloud was our example, but it's really the adoption of really any new process often means to the business owner, oh my goodness, you want me to completely change everybody's job. Sometimes it's, like if you're going to change accounting systems, you're really maybe going to have to have a different bookkeeper, let's say, or having different chunks in the business process. You've got these people that are doing those jobs and they have to do something completely different. They're going to resist you, right? So how do I get past this resistance of the staff when I'm trying to improve the process?
So we've actually taken the approach that, well, our philosophy first is that we don't want to fire someone just because we decided to change.
Mm-hmm.
So we actually will go through, we'll figure out, if we're trying to get here, what are all the things that have to shift along in our practice and get adjusted? And we'll start to identify the different roles.
Right.
And then we'll take the existing staff and go, where do you think you fit? Where do you want to play?
Right.
And a lot
you're
of
talking about staff inside your firm?
Staff that we already have.
Okay.
Yep.
I was thinking about the client's staff in my question.
Actually, we kind of do that too.
Yeah.
We'll kind of look at that and, and this is like not accounting,
right?
But this is part of the magic that I think we bring to the table,
right?
Is to know this is how the accounting function works,
right?
Here's the roles that are needed as we shift into this new technology,
right?
Here's how those roles change.
Mm-hmm.
And I also help clients look at, well, if you're going to put that staff in that role, then here's what else they'll have to learn, and we'll come up with a learning plan to help them get up to speed.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of change management now.
It really is. Well, so on this whole thing, staffing then really becomes a critical issue, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So do you have any pearls of wisdom for how to find the right staff, especially in this changing environment? What kind of people do you look for?
For us, especially as specialists, it's really hard to find staff.
Mm-hmm.
In ours, we've been finding it will actually take us sometimes 3 to 4 years.
Right.
It's been crazy to find the right staff.
To find, or maybe to develop an existing person.
That's where I was just going to turn it around to. And so we're now at the point where we are hiring based upon a lot of potential.
Yeah.
And we're hiring based upon the fit for the company.
Right.
So the way that we have a particular corporate culture that we're trying to create, and we're trying to create a very non-corporate corporate culture.
Right.
Something that's a little more flexible, something that is more about innovation and entrepreneurship.
Right.
So we're looking for those qualities, and then the ability to learn, demonstrated ability to learn,
right,
and adapt and to innovate. And that's what we're looking for when we hire now.
Right. Well, so let me sum it up, or please you sum it up for me. What's the future hold for the accounting profession?
It sounds kind of trite, and sometimes I think, but it's kind of limitless.
Right.
As we as accountants start to, as a profession,
right,
start to come out of our shell,
right,
and explore all of these different areas, IT, something beyond tax. Maybe it's specialization within it, construction, retail, whatever it is. It's really going to be limitless because this base that we have in accounting and finance allows us to understand business process. It forces us to understand technology and put those two together along with the information that it generates so that we can then support business decision making.
Mm-hmm.
That can take us anywhere. And so the fact that the profession is now re-embracing everything else besides just debits and credits makes me think it's unending. We can do anything.
Well, great. I'll leave it there. Thank you very much for being in the neighborhood with me.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thanks for joining today, and I'll see you next time.